I'd like to share a bit more information with you and some advice if you are considering buying a heat press for botanical printing. There are a couple of different styles of presses. This is what's called a clamshell, and it just opens literally like a clamshell. I have this brand, the Sizer brand. This is the first press I ever bought, and I really like it, but it's a little pricier. I didn't really need to spend that much money, but I wanted to use the photo in order to point out the features to you that you should be looking for. There should be a digital readout. I'll show you more about that in a minute. There should be a knob that you can turn to literally adjust the amount of pressure that's being exerted on the platens when the press is closed. And on this variety, you have a handle that's slightly padded, so it's comfortable. And that handle is used to open and close the press. There's another style of press, and it's called a swing away arm. And that press looks like this. And I did a screenshot from the internet. This is a Tusy press, T-U-S-Y, gets great reviews. I don't get paid anything. I don't even own one, but that's what I read. You can see it has a handle. You can see it has a swiveling pressure adjustment right here. You can see that it has the temperature and time regulator digital readout right here. And then of course they all have an on and off switch. One advantage of looking at this particular picture is that you can see what the platens look like, and they're essentially very, very thick. This is true on all models, kind of a rust-colored rubber. We're back to the Sizer so that you can have a close-up of the digital reading. There are 3 buttons. In order to set the temperature, you press the button. The temperature light comes on. You set the temperature to whatever you have in mind. This one is set to 330. I keep the temperature on my Sizer when I'm doing botanical prints at 310. Down below is the time button. And once I have set the temperature, I can push that set button again and the time light will come on. And then I would be setting it for 240 seconds, which is the amount of time that I usually recommend for a basic press for the botanical printing. This red mode button is what you would push if you were going to change either the temperature or the time. Once you've set them, they default to whatever you set them to until you change them again. And you want to be sure that if you're looking at reviews for a particular press that you're considering, you want the temperature to be able to go up to 450 degrees, which is pretty much how they all are in standard. And the time is usually up, I think, to 999 seconds. And of course, if you needed more time than that, once the timer went off and you had, used up that amount of time, you could always close the press and set it again. I also have this ePhoto ink digital clamshell heat press, and it is different from my Sizer because it's a horizontal orientation. It's also considerably cheaper. I like this press a lot. Sometimes in the past it's gotten bad reviews, but I think they have worked on it because I haven't had any trouble with it at all. And as you can see by looking at this copy from Amazon, the maximum temperature on this press is actually 500 degrees, but there's no reason you would ever need to go that high. Frankly, it's not a wise idea to press Teflon that's hotter than 450 degrees. So wanted to point out that this is also a good press. This is the Fancier Studio brand, and it's a good press too. As a matter of fact, I have a sneaking suspicion that the Fancier Studio brand and the ePhoto ink might be made by the same company, and they're just branded differently. So there is always that possibility, but this one gets good reviews, and it's basically that clamshell style. And the reason I prefer the clamshell myself is because it takes up less space than the swing arm. Literally open and shut case. The platen on this one is actually a gray rubber, but it's not much different from what you saw before. Now, it's important to buy protective covers for the platens because of using the water. The felt is soaked in water, and that is going to be between the 2 platens. And I don't know that it would damage it over time, but I don't want to find out the hard way. So I purchased, and you can see the watermark on this, Rinson, Rincons. They make the platen covers for both the bottom and the top. And I highly recommend that you have covers for both bottom and top. This is not the only brand that is available, and they're a little bit expensive, to tell you the truth, but I ordered some from another company and they came and they were incredibly wrinkled and not worth the price of admission. So the Teflon should be nice and smooth. And the way these are made, you could actually make a set yourself. They're made by sewing kind of a nylon stretchy material across the corners. You see the cursor across each of the four corners so that the Teflon slips on the platen and fits sort of like a fitted sheet. So if you're adventurous, you could buy the Teflon covers very inexpensively and save yourself literally at least $50 by making the covers yourself. All it really would require is some stretchy nylon type fabric and a sewing machine. The additional Teflon sheets are available any place that sells heat press supplies, and I highly recommend buying the Teflon sheets either to make the press cover that you just saw, or because you are going to need them in addition to covering the press. This is where I build my composition directly onto the Teflon sheet, and they're much less expensive to buy them from a heat press supply house than some of the other places that they're available online. Now, the M-Press 16 by 20 inch press is a great press for the money, and Heat Press Nation sells it. And here is a link that you can use to go directly to it. The 15-inch model is less expensive, but it's a great buy. In general, 15-inch models are a lot cheaper than the 16 by 20, especially when you get sticker shock by looking at what a 16 by 20 could cost, which is sometimes upward of $800 or $900. But they're certainly available, as you saw from the ePhoto Ink picture that I shared with you. The M-Press is not in that upper sort of atmosphere when it comes to the price. Gets great reviews. However, Heat Press Nation must be a pretty popular place and as reliable as I've always found them to be, because as of the date that I'm recording this, all of their 16 by 20 inch presses are back ordered. I also recommend the Sizer brand, and you can look that up online and find it several different places. Probably some places cheaper than the $798 that they charge for a new machine. Also keep an eye on the shipping, because a lot of places are going to charge you for the shipping, which sometimes can be as much as $85. So looking for a company that's going to offer free shipping definitely is another way to save money. The ePhoto Ink machine is affordable, and I've used it for 18 months straight, sometimes 5 or 6 days for 8 hours at a time, and it has never failed me. And actually, it recovers faster than the Sizer when it comes to the temperature dropping during pressing and then coming back when the press is open as you're getting ready to load it again. George Knight makes a great machine, but it is quite a bit more expensive. Fancier Studio has a good reputation, and as I said, they are usually competitively priced. And I just want to point out that there are presses that aren't branded being sold on eBay, and the prices are really good prices. I would read the reviews and check the seller and maybe go that route, because you might be able to find a good deal, but make sure you know where it has to be returned to and what the return policy would be in the worst case scenario that you had a problem. Don't forget about used presses, because sometimes they can really be a bargain. And the fact of the matter is, plenty of people think they're going to get a heat press business going doing t-shirts, because sublimation is really what these presses are designed to do. And for one reason or another, it doesn't work out. And before you know it, you can get your hands on a great press at a good price. So that's what I've got to share with you about heat presses, and I hope it's helpful.